Hey guys, welcome to Impressive Glow. My name is Gina. I'm the owner and educator of Impressive Glow Spray Tan and Teeth Whitening Training, where I am on a mission to help women, moms, single moms, learn how to start a side hustle by starting a spray tan or teeth whitening side hustle or business, and to build some financial independence in that process. And today's video is going to be super fun. This is the first interview that I've done on my YouTube channel, and I think being that it's a spray tan beauty, like technical part of spray tanning, I think is going to be super fun. We have Joanne Hammer with Insured Body Works with us today, and we are going to talk all things beauty business, insurance, spray tanning specifically. So, Miss Joanne, welcome. I'm so excited to have you.
Thank you. I'm excited to join you today.
I have polled some of my followers on Facebook, on Instagram, here on YouTube, and we have some very important questions for you because our spray
Wonderful.
tan businesses are thriving. I know that the new year coming, we are going to have a better year, hopefully, than we've had in our industry than this last year. And maybe it's not just our industry, right? Like
Right.
we definitely feel it in the, and I know you feel it because you like talk to all beauty business owners. But this has been a tough year. So we're hoping that 2025 is even better, but we want to make sure that we play it safe. And so we definitely want to talk beauty business insurance. So really quick, give like a quick explanation of what beauty business insurance actually is. Like, what is it? Why do we need it?
Sure. I would love to answer that question. It's one of my favorites because insurance is really a complicated subject. Uh, but at Beauty and Body Work Insurance, Insure Body Work, we provide insurance that's specific to those professionals providing services in the beauty industry. So very niche. We understand your industry very, very well. We cover over 900 modalities in the beauty industry space. We've been in business since 2012, so we're just finishing our 12th year of insuring beauty professionals.
Awesome.
Um, Annually, we insure 65,000 beauty professionals every single year. So we really know what we're doing, and a lot of your colleagues and coworkers trust us with their insurance also. So basic on insurance, our insurance covers general liability, which is your premises liability. That's those slips, trips, and falls that may happen when your customers come to your premises. And then we also cover professional liability. That's really one of the keys for business or beauty professionals in their business because that's where most of the expensive injuries happen. That's chemical reactions. That's injuries because of not correctly disinfected tools. Those are some of the big things that can happen that are directly related to the services that you are providing your customers. And so that's what we cover. In addition to our basic policy, which is your general liability and your professional, we offer optional coverage to cover your tools and equipment, and then also cyber liability, which is kind of a new buzzword. But that's when somebody gets in and tries to steal your customer's information and sell it or use it for nefarious reasons, such as identity theft.
Yeah.
So we cover all of that, some optional, some is included in our basic. And we do have monthly payments available to help it be more budget friendly for those that are just starting out in the business or those that do it part time.
How is it that you are able to insure us in such a way at such a great cost?
This is a great question. And it really comes down to first, because we insure such a large number of beauty professionals, we are able to negotiate some of the best insurance prices on a volume discount. So we collectively look at that beauty industry and those services provided, and we're able to insure you as a group discount, but you each get your own individual policy, your own individual limits. So you're not sharing on those limits or your policy with anyone else, but you're sharing in that discount because we do such a high volume. And the second reason, most of maybe your bigger insurance companies, when they look at this industry, they're looking at insuring an entire salon or spa. They're not looking at the individual technicians that are providing these services. And that's a lot different to insure one individual versus an entire spa. The bigger companies don't make that distinction. And so you get charged like you're a large salon or spa with multiple employees or multiple booths and different things that you're providing. We look at it the other way around, and we like to insure just those technicians. We do have a spa salon policy available, but this one we're talking about today is specific for individuals, and that price is down because that's really what we're insuring is just you and your services.
I love it when I have students who come and ask me about insurance and I mention that price, they are just like, there's no way. Like my insurance for my dogs costs more than that. So I think it's such an affordable thing that we need to make sure that we remind ourselves that it's, a part of business, that we have to invest in that part of our business. So I think that's super important. Now I want to get into some really spray tan specific questions because these are the things that really matter to a lot of the girls who follow me. So what is it that you see as the biggest myth when it comes to insurance in the spray tan industry?
I have two that come to mind really quickly. And the first one we sort of just chatted about, but that's insurance doesn't have to be expensive to provide you with all the protection that you need for your business. So, but going without insurance can actually cost you your business, your investment, and potentially your own personal assets in the event of a lawsuit. And I think sometimes people forget that you're helping someone, you could injure someone, and lawsuits are becoming larger and larger for smaller and smaller injuries. So you're putting everything you've invested into this business on the line when you are practicing without insurance. And so I think that would be the number one. And I think the second one is that you have to work for someone to buy insurance or to be insured, or you have to have your own space. With the BBI product, the Beauty and Body Work Insurance, you can be mobile. You can go to your clients' homes. You can have them come into your home, or you can rent a booth in another spa salon, or you can do all of those. We insure you no matter where. So your insurance follows you. It's not tied to one specific location. So I think those are the two big things.
That's so important to realize about mobile. And we're going to talk about mobile in a little bit, but I love that you mentioned that that's a myth that you can still have, insurance, even offering a mobile. And there's so many services now that can be offered mobile, not just spray tanning.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's such a big, important factor to think about. So that's awesome. Now, when it comes to the spray tan industry, what do you see as the most common claim that may come across your eyes that we really need to talk to spray tan artists about to help them maybe prevent them having that issue? Because I'm sure there's probably maybe a handful of the most common things that you can think of that are really important to our industry.
Yes, there are. Number one, far and away, are slips and falls. After you've been sprayed or coming out of a tanning booth, spray booth, you're a little bit slippery. Your client is a little bit slippery. So that one is very, very common. And the other one is a reaction, any type of reaction to the product, whether it's allergic reaction, sometimes chemical reactions because of other things that they have on their skin that you might not have been aware of. So those are the two biggest claims that we see in the spray tanning and spray tan industry as far as insurance.
Two of the most asked questions when I polled everybody was, please make sure you ask her about these two things. Now, going into those types of things and with insurance, how important are intake forms or client consent forms or waivers? And how can we assure that they will protect us in some type of insurance matter legally? How important are they, and how do we make sure that they're going to be something that we can stand on if something were to happen?
So consent forms, you definitely need them. That can help you decide if somebody is able to receive your services or if you have some other considerations that you might need to make. Can they stand up for the entire time, or do you need to make an accommodation for them to be seated part of the time?
That's a great thing to put on a consent form.
You need to know, are they allergic to anything? Have they had a reaction to any other tanning products in the past or any other lotions in the past? Those are some really great things. One thing about consent forms is they don't always protect you as well as you would like in court, excuse me. They're great. They do help you. They help you to prevent things from happening, but there's always crafty lawyers that can get around. It says the instead of and, or some, they can find some tiny little thing to tear apart consents. Um, but you still should use it. What I'm saying is that that's not the only thing you should use. You should use consents in addition to insurance, because that's where you have that full layer of protection, because the consent form is not always going to protect you.
Oh, that's so great how they go like hand in hand, a consent form plus your insurance. Because I think a lot of spray tan artists do think that consent forms just automatically will just protect them. And that's, as a trainer, that's so scary to me when I hear situations like that. And I'm just like, no, please. I come from a medical insurance background, and so I'm just like,
Okay.
no, no, no. I love the fact that you know put the two things together, the consent form plus the insurance, to just have that added protection to know that you know you can stand on those. That's awesome. Now, a lot of us are, we just are coming out of like homecoming season, and we're going to be coming into like winter formal season, proms, cheer teams. How do we go about protecting ourselves when it comes to minors, like anybody under the age of 18? Like, I know, of course, we want our consent form signed, we're going to have our insurance, but are there some specific things we need to think about when it comes to the safety, the situation? Like, what is it that we should be thinking about when it comes to spray tanning minors?
Sure. With minors, definitely it's imperative that their parent or guardian signs that consent form and not the underage person. They're not legally of age to be able to consent to a legal document, which a consent form is. So that has to be signed by the parent or guardian. I also highly suggest that the parent or guardian stays with them for the entire procedure. That can help eliminate any questions about the service that was provided, how it was provided, or anything that could be misconstrued by the minor that a parent might understand.
I think that is so important. One of the things that I teach in training is when you do have minors, even like, because like 17-year-olds can drive themselves to a spray tan appointment, and that's a very sticky situation. And so, one of the things that I think is really important, like when I have, like we send out like their pre-tan instructions and their confirmation emails, I do make sure that I detail that anybody under the age of 18 needs to have a parent present. Like it is to set them up before they come in, and that they need to be there. And how do you feel about the situation of dad coming with them, and you spray tan the daughter in like your spray tan room? Do you feel that it's necessary for dad to be present in the room?
Not necessarily. I think that's up to the child and the parent on where their comfort lines are. And of course, is the child wearing a bathing suit, or, did they prefer, fewer tan lines? And so I would say that's up to them, but that's definitely something that you should offer. Another thing that you can offer, especially in those situations where maybe it is only a father that could come with a daughter, is to ask one of your employees to also assist or be present. So that just gives you that third party, that other person, if something does happen, that is a witness to what happened.
Sure, a lot of spray tan artists are mobile and are doing this as like something that they do on the side, or rent is not cheap for studio space right now. It is not the most affordable things. So I've seen a lot of spray tan artists this year come back to mobile services, coming from like renting a booth or renting a space or even an entire salon. And what are the biggest differences in terms of coverage when it comes to, and you talked about this earlier about, mobile services, but what are the biggest differences in terms of in-studio coverage with insurance and mobile coverage? Like, what are the biggest differences between the two?
So very little, but on your mobile, so that's if you're going to a venue, you're going to your customer's home, you're going to a gymnasium where there's a dance recital. The better protection that we have there for the mobile specifically is if you damage that venue space somehow, that you stain walls or drapery or carpeting and flooring, your equipment somehow damages something, you accidentally break a window as you're walking out with all your equipment. A million things can happen.
Yes.
And this insurance will cover those accidents at property damage that may happen at that venue or at that other place that you're at. We will also cover a studio or a booth that you rent, but the difference is in that studio or booth that you rent, we usually only cover fire damage that you cause. So it's a little bit different if you have a space rented for more than 7 days, and that's in 1 year time frame. So when you're just going to a customer's home, you're not renting it, you're not renting that venue, you're just there providing service. When you're in a spa or salon, then we only cover damage by fire.
But if they slip when you're in that studio, when they're in the studio, that's covered.
Oh, absolutely, that's covered.
Okay.
Yes. So
Okay.
I was just specifically speaking to property damage to
Gotcha.
that booth that you may rent or that spa and salon. Now
Yes.
there is some other property damage coverage, but that that depends on the situations of the claim and things. So
Perfect.
but the difference really is when you're mobile, we will cover just about any little piece of property damage or something, and we'll still cover those slips and falls. Like, you're at that venue and there's a little slip because someone's feet were wet or the floor got a little bit slippery. That's still covered even if you're at a different venue or location than your own studio.
A lot of us do like pop-up events, or we'll do, obviously mobile, and you're in different places. So you want to make sure that, insurance doesn't have to just be to one location, that you can offer a service like mobile and be covered and feel comfortable. And I think mobile is such a great option now because of, overhead and pricing. And so having the, clarity and the just knowing that it's going to be something that you're going to be taking care of if something were to happen, because that's the biggest fear. Everybody's biggest fear is, what if I spill spray tan solution on her carpet? Now, what about equipment? Because some of our equipment can get pretty pricey. I mean, we have such a wide range of things that we invest in. But when you get into like higher, quality spray tan equipment, we're talking into like, $1,000. And when you're just a single mom, what is the coverage on spray tan equipment? Like how, like even mobile, like if it was stolen, if it was in a fire, like you had said, what is the coverage around equipment?
Okay, so our tools and equipment coverage is optional,
Oh,
but also very competitively priced. It starts at $16 a year for coverage. So
gosh.
great, let's keep that in mind. But it also covers all of your business tools, equipment, and inventory. So that's the computer that you use to potentially schedule customers. That's your phone that is, we live and die by those now, especially with our clients. And that again covers all of your equipment, your tools, your inventory. So something gets stolen, maybe some of your solutions freeze or get too hot and they're damaged somehow because of that. So there are a number of things. Fire and theft are the two most common reasons that we pay for equipment. But then we also pay for sudden and unintentional damage. So not equipment breakdown. It just has gotten old and it needs to be repaired. That's not covered. It's not sudden and unintentional. But you're spraying someone and their dog comes excited and runs in and bumps something over. You drop something on your way into a client. That is when we would cover that sudden and unintentional damage.
I love the fact that you talked about supplies, because I definitely have seen issues and heard of issues where girls have had solution maybe be in light for too long, or like you said, temperature changes. That is a very important thing for people to or for spray tan artists to understand. Spray tan solution is everything that we live by. So that's great to know that. Now, what about, like, and you talked a little bit earlier about client reaction. That's probably the second biggest concern we have. Not only because obviously every spray tan solution is, formulated with different ingredients and all of the, different things. They're signing their consent forms. We also are able to, in the spray tan industry, we do a lot of like DIY kind of stuff for our spray tan clients when it comes to like our own finishing powder, and when we're mixing different types of things, and we mix ingredients when it comes to solution. And the biggest fear is always if somebody has an allergic reaction, if they have a rash, if they have, whatever the case may be, what is the coverage and what should we be worried about when it comes to that situation?
Okay, so this policy covers all the products, whether you hand make them, whether you buy it off the shelf or some version of the two that you use within your services. So the one thing it doesn't, which is a little bit different coverage, is any products that you sell to your clients for at-home use. So we do have a policy that covers that, but it's a little bit different since this policy is really geared towards that service that you're providing, where a products insurance policy is geared towards covering those products that you're not applying to someone. You can see the risk might be a little bit different when I'm in control of what I'm providing, how
Yeah.
much I might be able to do test patches or whatever. And then you send something home with someone, you really can't control what happens once it leaves your store. So it's a little bit different risk for the products that you use in service versus you sell. So this covers specifically any and all products and tools that you use during your service.
So it'll cover any type of medical expense that a client would have if they had reactions to any of our products.
It will. Yeah, that's what this insurance is for. And a great thing, there's a coverage called med pay or medical pay. And what that is, it's a goodwill coverage that it's no fault. It doesn't matter if you did something, they did something. I know you mentioned in your questions to me, customers fainting. That's not your fault. Can't prevent that. But let's say they do and bump their head or sprain a wrist or something. Absolutely. We pay those medical bills. No fight, no questions. Customer, I'm so sorry. Are you okay? Let's get you checked out. We'll pay your medical. Don't worry about it. Two great things happen there. Your customer builds more faith and trust in you that you appreciate them as a client because you care.
Yep.
You're not doing the, wasn't me. I don't know. She's fine. And it prevents lawsuits, which can be expensive and cost your business money. So we find that most of the time, a customer just wants to be okay and their medical bills paid. That prevents so many lawsuits. And an apology and are you okay? Those are the number one things that really help us prevent lawsuits and help you prevent any damage to your reputation by a customer saying something bad about you also. So it's, she took care of me, I slipped, I fainted, but they were right there. They took care of me. I'll be back. I'll be a client forever.
Such valuable information. I think spray tan artists are always so worried about the medical side of this because we're applying something to their skin. And I think we all have like the stress of this on us, but nobody has like really gone into depth about, but is it really something that's covered by an insurance? Like you're talking about it like it's just such an easy thing. Like, yeah, don't worry about it. We got you. And we're over here just stressed. Like there's girls that just literally don't start spray tan businesses because of these concerns. So yeah, one of my next questions is about fainting. So you absolutely answered that. A lot of girls will come in, you know, they don't eat properly. They're in different positions for a certain amount of time. They're dehydrated, especially when we're training. And so I personally definitely had a couple girls in my studio, which by the way, I always keep just for the girls, keep some protein bars and some water always on hand because that always brings them back to life really quickly. But definitely that is something that is absolutely so important. Now, one of the other things that we do or in the spray tan industry, we have a lot of options to be able to private label products.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when it comes to like soaps and lotions and scrubs and all of the different things that we're able to offer to our clients. And just like with, you know, this type of insurance, it's a scary thing because it sounds like a big deal. Like it sounds like, oh my gosh, like this is like you're wholesaling and now you got retail and you got state tax. Now you got all these things. So one of the biggest concerns is what about insurance coverage for private labeled products?
So the Beauty and Body Work does not cover private labeled or products that you hand make and sell. But we do have insurance that can help you with that. So we do have that. It's just not part of this policy itself, but it can be purchased through us. We can help you with that. And it's really not terribly expensive. It's more than our Beauty and Body Work policy. I believe it starts at $500 a year for handmade products. So it's still very inexpensive, but you would need a separate coverage for products, especially when you hand make them, relabel them, and sell them retaily instead of just used in your service.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but like, if we are getting products that we're not making and we're getting products, like we're wholesaling products from somebody and we're able to private label them with our, you know, labels and sell it and offer it to clients, should that wholesaler also be holding insurance for us?
Yes, absolutely. One of my favorite questions. Yes. So what you will do is when you have someone white label for you, private label, they should list you on their insurance policy as an additional insured. So a lot of insurance words there. But what that means is you simply tell them that I want anything that happens with the product, your insurance policy will cover me for anything that happens because of your product. That's an absolute great way to provide yourself with some protection over things that you have no control over. Did they
Right.
mix a batch wrong? Did it, was it contaminated? Was there something you wouldn't know that because you're not the one preparing and packaging those products?
Right.
So that's a great extra layer. So always, it's easy. They're probably very used to it. They understand what it is. You can have an attorney for very inexpensively write you up a quick agreement that asks for that when you contract with them.
Perfect.
Definitely.
Now, $500 is not like once you get into where you're private labeling and you're able to buy
Absolutely.
commodities at a bigger mass, $500 is like nothing. You start getting into like the different levels of business at that point where you're like, that's it, really?
And that insurance is required if you want to sell on Amazon, on Etsy, on Jane, on any of those websites. You have to have that insurance. So you're right. That does take you to a little bit different type of business and level of insurance required. But that does get you into those places where you can put your product out there for the masses.
Walk me through the claims process. Like if I have a claim, if somebody falls, if somebody has a reaction, how difficult or how easy is the process to get a claim processed?
It's simple. You can do it in less than 5 minutes. So you have a couple of options. You can log into your dashboard, which once you sign up with us, you get your own little customer dashboard. You log in, you can print proof of insurance. You can add additional insureds to your policies.
Love it.
Um, and you can go in there. There's a button that says file a claim. You click the button, you give them some information about who the customer was or the third party that was injured, whether it was your tools and equipment or whatever the claim was, the dates, and hit submit. And it sends all the information over to the claims team. It automatically assigns an adjuster and they will reach out to you, within 24 business hours, sometimes longer if it's a weekend or a holiday, but generally very quickly you hear back from the claims people. If you're not quite as computer savvy or this is my first claim, I really want to know I'm doing it right, you can call our customer service team and they can walk you through that process also. And again, just takes a few minutes. It's not scary. For theft claims, I would say one heads up, make sure you file a police report because that helps prevent claims where there might be a question of, well, was it really stolen or did it just get lost? And, unfortunately in insurance, there are the people that are fraudulent, making fraudulent claims.
Mhm.
So we do for theft claims require a police report. So just be sure to get one. It might take you half an hour to talk to a cop. They'll write something up and give you a case number, but it's the best way to get your claim resolved and resolved quickly.
Really understanding how simple this process really is. It's not as scary as we think it is. What is the
Mhm.
turnaround time for, like the average turnaround time for a claim to be settled and completed?
So an inlet or a tools and equipment claim for that's your inventory, your tools and equipment, those claims are usually settled within a week to 2 weeks. And that depends, do you have your receipts and proof of what you had and what it cost you, what your replacement costs are, if that's applicable. So it really depends on how prepared you are and you have those things. On the liability claims, that's your professional, somebody has a reaction, somebody injured. Those can take a little longer.
Yeah.
Usually we settle within about 3 to 6 months, but when there's ongoing medical treatments or we're unsure kind of exactly what happened and we've got to interview different people that are involved, different parties, those do take a little bit longer, but they're still settled very quickly. We rarely see a claim that's not settled within 6 months.
And I think it's just a reminder to us too, as spray tan artists who, even at the level of a side hustle, how important still it is to be organized in your business and making sure that you take this serious. I mean, if you're wanting to make, money and it's serious money, and I think it's important to stay as organized and professional as possible to one, the way we look, but also if we want something done as quick as possible, we have to make it as easy for you guys to be able to get that done also.
It might take a little time when you're setting up, but keeping an inventory list of what you have, serial numbers, where you bought it, what it costs when you purchase it. Having a quick spreadsheet like that, especially in a fire, if you think about the wildfires that we're seeing out there and people are leaving very quickly, you really don't have time to gather all of your things up or to find that. So if you have that stored somewhere on the internet, in the cloud somewhere, you can quickly come back to that and go, oh yeah, I forgot I had 7 bottles of this solution, but after we go back from a fire, nobody can tell what I had. So inventory, serial numbers, model numbers, and the date you purchased and the amount, that goes a long, long way. First, for you to get the most amount out of your claim that you should. And also, it helps us so that we can pay those claims more quickly.
This whole entire conversation has like blown my mind. I've been in the spray tan industry
Yay.
almost 7 years, and there's just so many questions that I know spray tan artists have had that just don't know where to go to get the answers or don't have somebody to help them find answers. So I'm so excited that we did this. Now, in the spray tan industry, is there something that, and we kind of talked about it earlier about like, you know, the most common things. But is there something that you want to tell spray tan artists from an insurance standpoint?
I'm getting so excited, huh? You know, the cost of the insurance, especially on our monthly payment, is worth so much and costs so little when you're looking at protecting your family home, any assets that you might have, your investment into yourself and your education. All that could go out the window. You think just a medical claim from that fainting in the tanning booth or while you're providing a spray tan, a broken arm, could cost tens of thousands of dollars. And you probably can't afford to pay that out of your pocket. And insurance will do that for you. So $99 a year is well worth preventing $10,000 or someone you having to sell your home because to pay a claim.
But actually, you just reminded me of another question I wanted to ask you really quick before we end.
Sure.
For insurance, or for us to be covered in with our insurance claim, when we talk about setting up our business, is it required for us to have a business license? Is it required for us to be established with like a state license number? Like, do we have to have that in order to be covered? How does that work?
That depends on what services you're providing and what your state requires. So if your state requires certain licensing, then we would require it. If they don't, then we also don't.
So like you wouldn't need a city business license. Like if our city, because spray tanning is such one of the highest, like, you know, desired side hustles because there are not very many regulations, although I wish there were a little bit more. But there's not a lot of state regulations when it comes to spray tanning. Like Oregon is the only state that requires you to be an esthetician for spray tan artists. Ohio has like a separate little testing like certificate you have to have. But any other state in the country, you are not regulated by the state at all when it comes to spray tanning. So knowing that you don't have to have like a state, you know, registration with your business, and then if you're doing something in your home, now really quick to spray tan artists, that's very different though when it comes to how your state and your city is run. Your city still may, if you're doing something out of your home, you still may need a business license. But I just meant insurance wise, in terms of being covered was my biggest question about that. So I am so grateful for your time and your knowledge and everything that you were able to answer for us. And I know that this is going to be a huge, like, mind-blowing moment for a lot of spray tan artists. And I'm going to have to bring you back on for another conversation about teeth whitening, because we also offer teeth whitening training. That's a whole other ball of flames for us to talk about. But I definitely want to bring you back, Miss Joanne, because this has been so much fun and so enlightening. So I want to thank you again for your time. And we are definitely going to be talking to you soon. I know that I set up some links to purchase Insured Body Works plans with you guys. So I'm going to leave all that stuff in the description for you guys to sign up, and their customer service number and all their contact information, because we definitely want to be working with such an amazing type of business that is so transparent. You have been such a great representation of Insured Body Works because of the transparency we've been able to talk through today. So I'm so excited for future spray tan artists. So Ms. Joanne, thank you so much for your time, and we will definitely
Thank
back
you.
to teeth whitening.
I appreciate it. We'll see you soon.
Thank you so much.